Joe, we do allow fire chiefs to sit down. Welcome and thank you all for coming. Can you hear me? Yes. Good. I'd like to thank the Rec Center, first of all. They are always so kind to us and give us everything we really want. And it works for us, and they have great space. So as good neighbors, thank you, Rec Center. Then I want to, that's better. Then I need to thank Ryan, who plays magic with all that stuff over there. And we'll get everything that happens on YouTube. So you can watch yourself ad infinitum, and it's kind of wonderful. I watch it every morning while I exercise here. We want to make sure that we get any follow-up information to you. So would you make sure you've signed in someplace? Somewhere, there's a sign-up sheet somewhere. Jody is finding it. And she'll probably pass it around like a really good person. Thank you, Jody. Oh, there's that Casey. He's forever late.
I never get home. I never sleep, so I gotta get home.
What makes you think you're so special?
We really need to argue about this right now. We really have to explain it.
Well, we have to have a little humor before we get serious. We are really very fortunate to have Yavapai College in our area here. And as someone who lives in Clarkdale, I feel possessive of it for some reason, you know. I really think it's a marvelous place for the entire area and for the students who come here. And that's one of the things that drove the League to take on a kind of forum that's not one that we usually have. We usually have candidates in there. One's here and one's there and one's everywhere. This time we're talking in a different vein. We're trying to understand the financing of education at the community college level, particularly here in the area. It's our dollars, and we need to think about it in the bigger term. With that in mind, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Our moderator tonight, who is also president of the State League of Women Voters, Robin Prudhomme Bauer, my daughter. Poor child.
Thank you, Ellie. And welcome, everybody. It's, as you see, a little bit after 7. I'm sure more people will come in as the evening goes on. They usually do. Let me just go through a few things about the forum, and then we'll get started. Again, my name is Robin Prudhomme Bauer, and I'm a League of Women Voters member here in Greater Verde Valley, and currently I am the state president, League of Women Voters of Arizona, whatever that's for. And yes, I do have to deal with those legislators sometimes down in that wonderful big state down south of us. As Ellie said, at the beginning, this is not what you might know to be the League of Women Voters Forum, Pro and Con Candidates Forum. It's not a debate either. It's an information forum with 3 purposes. One is to listen to the speakers from Yavapai College, tell us about the master plan and the capital improvements that go along with it, to ask thoughtful questions about Yavapai College's master plan and those improvements and its future, and to learn and to determine our own opinions about the master plan. So those are the three purposes of it. The format's going to be very simple, but it asks us all to listen to each other respectfully and try to understand others' points of view, speak your mind openly and freely, but don't engage in personal attacks, and of course, maintain an open mind. For the speakers, each speaker has been asked to give up to 15-minute presentation about the master plan and the capital improvements that go along with it. Then I'm going to open it up to questions from all of you. You can do it both two ways. You can do it either written or you can do it in an oral form. I'm going to take both ways. If you want to write a question, there's a couple of people, Ruth Kissel, a league member here, she has cards you can write them on, and she'll just bring them up to me. For oral questions, I'll ask, if you have an oral question, I'll ask you to go to that microphone over there, and you'll be stating your name and your question. I will be asking you to refrain from making any long introductory statements before the question. I'll ask you to get to the question. If you start down that path, I'll interrupt you. So just understand, get to your question first. I'll rotate back and forth between written and oral questions so we kind of get a mixture of each. And I might even ask our speakers a follow-up question. They're not timed responses, but I've asked Mary Gasaway, who is sitting right here, to kind of give me the high sign when responses to questions get around 2 minutes. So we'll ask you to kind of wrap up your thoughts so we can get to as many questions as possible. If a question can't be answered because either speaker doesn't have the information, we will take that question, compile, find out the answer to it, and we'll get it back to you. So that's why we really want you to sign up on the sign-up sheet so we can communicate information back to you if it can't be answered this evening. I do want to acknowledge a couple of people in the audience who are here in addition to our speakers. Dr. Penny Wills, who's the president of Yavapai College. Welcome, Penny. And to our newly appointed member of the Board of Governors, Al Filardo. Al, do you want to just raise your hand? And so it's really nice to have both of them in the audience also this evening. And as Ellie said, our forum is being videotaped by Verde Valley TV and will be shown on YouTube, and I'm sure Ryan will also give us other information of how we will be able to see it. And I think we'll put a link on our website so you can also get it through our website. So enough is enough. This is one of two forums we are going to be holding. Our second one will be on March 20th at the Sedona Public Library, same time, 7 to 8:30. And the same presenters will be there also. So enough of me speaking, and I think we'll go to Mr. Clint Ewell, who is I have him down here somewhere. He's Vice President of Finances and Administrative Services. It's this big, long title. With that, and Clint has a PowerPoint presentation that he's going to be doing to give us an overview. Clint.
Well, good evening, everyone. Again, my name's Clint Ewell, and I get my microphone even closer. And again, I'd like to thank Ellie and Robin and the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to come out and talk to you all tonight about our campus master plan. I wanted to start by just emphasizing that it is a plan. We worked very hard on it. We're proud of the process we use, but having said that, we also want to make sure that we're now out and about in the communities and sharing it with people and getting your feedback and getting your questions and give us a chance to help better understand what the plan is all about. So without further ado, we decided to hire a third-party expert. We went through a public RFP process and hired the Smith Group. They are an architectural firm with offices throughout the United States. We work with their local branch here in Phoenix, in Arizona. And they really specialize in developing plans and features for colleges and universities across the country. They've done this with over 150 other schools. For those of you who maybe aren't familiar with a campus master plan, it's in some ways similar to some of the community plans that maybe some of you have participated in over the years. What we're really trying to do is make sure that we have the right facilities to support the right academic programs and services that we will use to support your communities. Okay. Again, this was a multiple year process. It began internally with several internal discussions. Over this past year, we have worked both with hosting a variety of forums. We had student forums on each of our sites. We also had community forums in May and in October to receive input and to receive feedback on the design of the plan. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulties, but I'm getting the hang of it. Again, our objectives are those that you see on the board. We had several that we were trying to balance. I guess one thing I wanted to point out is that it's not all about creating efficiencies, although we are being driven to become more efficient. As most of you know, the state has backed away from its support of community colleges back in fiscal year 12, the height of, or the depth of the recession, and we were forced to make some changes, and we continue to be forced to be on top of our game to really be good stewards of the taxpayer dollars. We also want to make sure that we're creating strategic partnerships throughout our service district, which is the entire county of Yavapai. Obviously, we need to support the educational master plan, which again is that portfolio of degrees and certificates and programs that we offer. And then we want to make sure that we're looking for ways to help support economic development and cultural enrichment opportunities throughout the district. So there were a variety of analyses that were performed. Later in this presentation, I'm going to provide a link to our website where you can actually read through the 60-page summary report with both their analyses and with their conclusions and recommendations. But I wanted just to put up on the board briefly for you a sense of what's happening. In particular, I wanted to highlight on the left-hand side this notion that there is a rise in online education. Nationally, it's about 1 in 3 students are taking classes online rather than face-to-face, and what we're seeing at Yavapai College is a similar trend where we're right at that same amount of student coursework being held in online sessions. Again, I know that there are ongoing concerns as to whether or not that the face-to-face is a superior product than online. I can assure you that we have done studies internally as part of our accreditation process, and what we're finding is that our online classes are a quality product. Again, maybe just jumping to their observations and conclusions. I don't want to read all these to you, but I want to highlight just a couple for you. The first thing is that they were recommending that we consolidate some of our most costly programs. Based on their experience working with other schools across the country, they believe that most community colleges cannot afford to replicate expensive programs. And we're going to talk a little bit about what that means as it relates to Yavapai College in just a few minutes. The other thing that they reflected back to us, again, we knew this, but they saw the data too and reached the same conclusion. Most of our growth is happening in 3 areas. It's happening online, It's happening in dual credit in the high schools, where high school students can earn both high school credit and college credit at the same time. And then the third area is the career and technical education area. And then just looking at the demographic patterns that we've all seen, they've pointed out to us that most of the growth has been, and they forecast that it will continue to be, in the Prescott Valley area. So here's the recommended plan, and I know this graphic is a little hard to read, so I am going to read it to you, or at least parts of it to you. On the legend, the blue circles represent business and computer science classes. The red represents career and technical education. The yellow is what we call foundation studies. It's your basic math and English, as well as some of our community ed programming. The green is science and health, and the purple is visual, performing, and liberal arts. And what you see on this graphic is what programs would be offered at which locations by the end of this 10-year period. The first thing I wanted to point out is on 89, on the left-hand side of the graph. You'll notice that there is not a Chino Valley campus. Again, when we built that campus, there were a couple of assumptions that we made. We had assumed that the county was going to put in a connector that would lead from 89 to, I believe, 169. That to date has not been built and is kind of postponed indefinitely at this point per the county. The other thing is that we had thought the city of Chino was going to move its city center a bit to the east out near Old Home Manor. And again, for a variety of reasons, that plan changed. So what we're planning on doing is moving those programs, not closing them, but moving them to other existing Yavapai College sites. The large red dot kind of at the bottom of 89A there is what we call our C-Tech facility. It's our Career and Technical Education Center. It's located near the Prescott Airport. That's where we do the vast majority of our on-campus career and technical education training. The other portion, maybe a fourth or so of our career and technical education, actually happens in a distributed fashion at all the county high schools. Looking at the Prescott campus, you can see that all 5 colors are represented. Again, it is our largest campus. It has our largest enrollments, and we will continue to offer all 5 of those different types of coursework. The red dot is going to be the NARDA program, which is our regional police academy, and it's currently being offered in Prescott Valley, but the recommendation from the Smith Group was to move that program from Prescott Valley to Prescott because they need the services from a full-service campus, such as residence halls and food services. I'm going to skip Prescott Valley for just a second. I'm going to come back to that. Moving here to the Verde Valley, again, I think it's important to note that all 5 different types of coursework are represented at the Verde Valley campus. The Verde Valley campus is envisioned to continue to be a full-service campus, offering the whole complement of courses and programs that are offered by a comprehensive community college. And Mr. Harrington's going to talk about that in just a few moments. The green dots at both the Verde Valley campus and at the Prescott campus are science and some of the pre-nursing coursework. There's been a lot of buzz around the community about the fact that the Verde Valley is losing its nursing program. The reality is that all of the general education courses, all of the pre-nursing, the first year of their nursing programming can be done at the Verde campus and at the Prescott campus. But our recommendation, or the recommendation from the Smith Group, was to consolidate that second year of nursing programming into one allied health center, and it was recommended to do that in Prescott Valley as a more centralized location to the population center of the county. Again, the rationale behind this came from that earlier best practice I talked about, which is as you start getting into that second year of nursing, that's when you start investing in lots of equipment, simulators that cost upwards of $60,000 each for a mannequin type of simulated patient. Again, we want to be able to continue to offer quality, state-of-the-art nursing programming. We want to make sure that we can do that in also a cost-efficient manner. And then last but not least, you see our Sedona Center on the far right-hand side of this graphic. The Sedona Center is envisioned as primarily a community education location. As most of you know, we in Yavapai County have interesting demographics. Our population of 65 plus is twice the national average. Sedona is even higher than the county average. And what we see there is a very robust community ed program in the form of our OLLI programming. And we are going to continue to offer that kind of programming as well as our dual credit and online coursework. We heard a little bit earlier this week at our board meeting, we heard some feedback from community about concerns about leaving the Sedona Cultural Park. We're going to talk about that in a moment. We also heard earlier today from Sedona City Council about concerns about making sure that we offer a variety of robust programming in the Verde Valley and in Sedona. And we will be open to that kind of feedback as well. So again, focusing on the Verde Valley campus, I guess one thing I wanted to point out, I know in the newspapers it sounded maybe very lopsided with the future planned investments for capital. I think the number being quoted there is maybe 97% of the new capital being invested in the West County. I think that's accurate, but it's also somewhat misleading in that it doesn't account for the fact that we've just invested $20 million in the Verde Valley campus. We have 100,000 square feet of pristine, state-of-the-art buildings that are second to none. And the outcome of our study is that it appears we could grow our current enrollments by threefold before we would run out of space. So what we really want to focus on is make sure that we're offering the right programs and services to fill up that building so that we have cause to build more facilities. Again, the way the plan is currently laid out, the investments that are planned are the possibility of more greenhouses here at the Verde campus and also some additional parking lots for increased enrollments. As you all know, on the top right of the graphic, we've already broken ground on our educational wine center, and that is underway and will be finished by this coming fall semester. And then in Building L, which is kind of more in the center of the graphic, is a building that has yet to be renovated. It needs to be tied into the central plant, and we have monies budgeted for that to allow that building to be reprogrammed to accommodate new programs that the community needs and wants. In Sedona, again, I think there's maybe some misunderstanding. I want to be really clear that we have no intention of leaving Sedona. We've been in Sedona since 1990. We've been in the cultural park since 1998. But as maybe some of you are not aware, the Sedona Cultural Park went out of business in 2003. When we bought into the park, it was kind of in a condominium complex sort of arrangement where we own the building and 5 feet around it, but nothing else. And so every time we have a student who uses our Sedona Cultural Center, essentially they're trespassing. There's no way to legally get from 89A to our building and to park your car. We've been having ongoing discussions with the owner of the other 44 acres of the Sedona Cultural Park. We're hoping to bring that to a successful resolution in the near future. We also own 5 acres just down the street from where our current facility is. Again, our current plan is to offer the programs that have proven themselves to be wanted and needed in Sedona, but we are open to other suggestions that the community gives us. So that, I know you're disappointed, but that wraps up my part of the presentation. Again, this graphic will be available online and hopefully on YouTube. It can take you to our Campus Master Plan website. If those of you have other feedback that you'd like to give, or it comes to you later after this meeting, there's an email address up on the screen that you can communicate directly with our district governing board. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Board Member Harrington. Thank you.
Thanks, Clint. All right, so my name's Harold Harrington. I want to go a little bit from a board perspective on what the governing board does. Basically, the governing board of Yavapai College sets the objectives for the college. We call them in-states and mission statements. So we decide what the college should be doing, and then the administration under Dr. Wills's management executes that, how to do it. So our mission is to provide high-quality learning and cultural resources for the diverse populations of Yavapai County. This is a county-wide community college district. We have certain ends that we focus on, 3 primary ends. Of course, education is one end. The second one is we feel like we have to have an oar in the water on economic development. We feel like community colleges have a responsibility to our communities to help in any way we can with economic development. We have some resources and we have some fairly smart people, and we, like Casey's around here, you know, we really work toward trying to help communities with economic development. That helps all of us. And then we have the community cultural piece of it. We feel like the community college has a responsibility to help in any way we can with the cultural end of life. I mean, not everything is school and money. There are other things like cultural activities, arts, those sort of things. So we feel like those things that we have to participate in ways that we can. So this is a great map. As we all know, the map just changed. So we have 5 districts. We've had 5 districts since the year of the Black Snow. The county just adopted 5 districts, and we elected to go with the same district structure as the county supervisors. I'm not sure that was a good decision, but we made that decision. That's what we're doing. So these are the districts. I am now District 2. I live in Cornville, downstream from the bridge. So that's District 2, which goes to Black Canyon City and Mayor and out that way. District 3, Al is District 3, which used to be my district, which is basically Verde Valley, right around here. And then Ray's our chair. District 1's in Prescott. Pat McCarver's District 4, and District 5 is Dale Fitzner. So those are that's the structure of the districts. You know, we operate under a policy governance model, which is kind of like I discussed. We set policies. The president's held accountable for executing them and making sure those policies are abided by. We operate as a one district, and the board operates under one voice. Once the vote is taken, if I disagree with the vote, it doesn't matter. I support the decision of the board. That's how that works, and we take that seriously because it's really about the only way it's going to work. So our first goal or end is education. A few things that I want to just kind of point out: that we have 31 degrees, 57 certificates, and about coursework in 62 disciplines for personal enrichment. I also want to talk a little bit about dual credit. I don't think, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys would help us with this, because I don't think that we get enough, the word out enough on dual credit enrollment. People don't realize what that really means unless somebody like me has told you, I guess. What that means is, if you know someone or have a kid going to high school, that they can take college classes for free, get college class credit for free at the same time that they're taking their high school class. We have accredited certain classes and courses and instructors in high schools to be able to teach these college classes. And it doesn't, the most important thing about this is it is for free. You don't pay any additional money to get the college credit. It is absolutely lunacy in the highest order not to do that. So I would really encourage people to find people that have kids that are in these programs and have them sign up for it. We're donating about $100,000 worth of tuition waiver in the Verde Valley a year in that program. I would like to see it be 3 times that much, at least. And there's no reason it can't be. You know, a kid could come out of high school with better than half of their 2-year degree done, free. I'm going to say that again, free. That's important to me. I put 3 kids through this. Well, my youngest daughter's still in. Yeah, free. Free is a good thing. Can't get any cheaper than that. We do a lot of adult basic education, developmental education, a lot of transfer. You know, you go to us for the first 2 years, you're going to save at least $8 grand over the guys north of here and south of here. If you want to go back east, that could be 30 grand, you know, I don't know. But the first 2 years, it really is a pretty good deal compared to the universities. We do a lot of career and tech ed, and community education is a very important and growing part of our business. And community ed is those courses we teach for people that don't particularly care about getting college credit. They want to learn stuff that's important to them, right? And you don't have to take tests and all that kind of nonsense. Economic development, we do have a regional economic development center. Alex Wright is our director. We have small business development center. Had somebody around here who knew something about that. So, viticulture and enology, we're putting a lot of energy into that in the valley. Everybody knows about that. Cultural enrichment, you know, we do what we can. I kind of follow the model on this one that, you know, Teddy Roosevelt's great model is you do what you can with what you have where you are. And that's what we do. We can't do everything, but we do some. Next step. So, we're going around the county presenting this master plan in various communities and various forums, this being one of them. And we're soliciting input, comments, corrections. You know, no plan ever survives exposure to reality. So now we go and try to make this thing into something that works for all of us. It's a long process. This is kind of like driving the Titanic. You know, we hope we don't hit the iceberg. But it takes a long time to do this stuff. This is important. You know, we can't screw this up. You know, kids rely on us, and not just kids, people of all ages. So we're fairly, you know, we may be accused of being a little bit slow, but I'd rather be slow and sure than fast and stupid. So some of these plans we're talking about, most of them are 5, 6, 7 years out in the future before any, like talking about the nursing program, that's a 6, 7 year out in the future kind of thing if we do it. You know, I've got a daughter that's a physician. She doesn't have a clue what the business is going to be in 7 years. I talked to her about it, and I go, well, what kind of technology, what do you see happening? She goes, I don't know. So nobody knows. It's changing so fast. And she's a physician here in Yavapai County. I can't imagine if she was in a big city what it would be like. So the plan has to be a living document. It has to be something we work on with communities. Our next step is to go out like this and talk to people about it and see what seems to fit, what doesn't fit, get input. You guys are going to have to pay for it, so you get a vote, right? So it's going to be a long process. I think that's it. So I don't know why it does that, but I didn't do it.
I don't think we need this, so.
Are we done? I haven't had dinner yet, guys. I know, Ellie. Can afford to miss one, right?
Hold on.
I don't think you qualify.
We're going. I just wanted to shut down the screen because I don't think we need that. So, okay. You know how that technology thing is, Casey. Yes, it's time for questions, and since you're up and almost to the microphone, go ahead, Casey, and please again state your name
Hi, I'm Casey Rooney. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Cottonwood. And what I want to mention, I don't even have a question, but what I want to say is based on what I saw, and the one component called economic development, I see the college really stepping up. And you put together an economic development team at the college. Alexandra Wright and Kurt Haskell are working at the Business Assistance Center, which I run in Old Town, and we're getting real busy, and I really appreciate the effort that Yavapai College is putting into economic development in the Verde Valley. Now, all these other people might have other issues and questions, but it's just a comment. I want to thank the college personally for all the involvement in economic development. I talk to Kurt all the time, and he said he's been told to be here in the Verde Valley, and he's here a couple days a week doing a great job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've got a whole bunch of questions that were just submitted to me, and why don't I start with one of them, and either one of you can answer this, whoever's got the information. So, with increasing dependence on computer-based as opposed to classroom-based courses, what happens to students who learn best through a face-to-face interaction with an instructor? Who would like to?
You start.
Okay. Well, again, I would, is this one on? Okay. All right. We'll get even closer. Gosh, I feel like I'm testifying before Congress now.
Your president's not a crook.
As you might recall from one of the graphs or one of the slides, we offer a combination of both. We're trying to meet the students where they are. I believe there's about 140 face-to-face classes that are offered on the Verde campus alone. There are another 255 or so online classes that students can take. You know, different people learn differently. I have to tell you, a person of my age, or at least for me personally, I'm kind of biased against online learning. I would much prefer face-to-face, but I can tell you, you know, I have kids who are in high school, and you just can't pry them off the computers and off their smartphones, and I see it on the campuses too. We have people living in our dormitories in Prescott, so they're on the campus and they're taking online courses. So it's a matter of learning preference and personal issues. I might prefer face-to-face, but I might be a single mom, I might have a full-time job, and the only way it works for me to continue my education is to do online coursework, so we need to offer both.
And the blended courses also offer those. There are certain subjects that I feel, I'm kind of like Clint, online courses, I can't imagine why you'd want to do that myself, but talk to my daughter and she goes, why would you do anything else? But the blended courses we do where there's certain parts of the curriculum where you come to class like once a week, and then all the rest of the stuff that is really things you're probably going to do on the computer anyway, you can do at home and not do the drive. That makes a lot of sense to me, and we're doing quite a few of those. But as Clint said, it's you gotta meet the people where they're at and try to service those needs. I mean, when you're talking about people that really can't afford the drive or the time, it is really convenient to do online. You can be on and off class while you're making, in between making dinner and going to bed. So I have a lot of respect for kids that can do all online stuff. I would fail. I couldn't do it. I mean, it wouldn't be good to me.
Great. Let's do another. I have so many here. I'll do another written, then we'll go to oral questions. And this one's it has to do with monies that have been invested in the Verde Valley and the Prescott area, and the ones that might be invested in the future. So the first question says, you say you have invested $20 million on the Verde campus recently. How much was invested in the Prescott area during the same period of time? And the back end of this is the Verde Valley has 1/3 of the population of Yavapai County and contributes more than 1/3 of the taxes that support Yavapai College. 97% of the capital development dollars over the next 10 years are planned to be spent to develop the Prescott area. Is that reasonable or fair?
Okay, so
One is
yes.
where did the money go, and the one is the next pot, how is it split
I
up?
see. So again, as far as exact dollar amounts over the same time period, I honestly don't know the answer, and that's one of the ones that I'm going to need to follow up and provide. I can tell you this. We looked, one of the measures that we look at is how much capital do we invest per full-time equivalent student. And what we see is that we currently have invested twice as much per student here in the Verde Valley and in Sedona as we have on the west side of the mountain. It's about $75,000 per student versus roughly $35,000 per student. Again, I understand there are economies of scale, and I know it's always going to be more costly to support more rural communities. But having said that, I do think that there is an equitable distribution of capital at this time. Moving into the next 10 years, yes, it is very weighted toward West County investments, but as I mentioned during my presentation, the Verde campus and the Sedona Center both have ample room for growth. We're estimating approximately 3 times our current population before we would run out, and we don't anticipate having that many students over the next 10 years. We would love to. The last thing I'd like to add, and maybe Harold wants to chip in too, is that help us find the right programs and services. Help us to grow, and we will be more than happy to invest more capital on these campuses.
The other thing I'd like to throw out there, when we're talking about spending 97% of $100 million on the West Valley, it's a little misleading because a fairly good chunk of that money is going to come from selling things on the west side. We're going to have to sell Chino. That money's going to go, that's part of that $100 million we're talking about. We're going to sell both the Prescott Valley campuses. That money is part of that $100 million. So it isn't like it's all new money. We have to repurpose. If we're going to consolidate, most of the consolidation is going to happen there, right? The programs and classes that are in different campuses right now, we're going to put together over there, sell off some of the campuses and put the money toward building a consolidated campus for the allied health side of it. So it's a little misleading in that way. The other thing that we just, I want to make sure everybody understands is, we're not in the past, and we're starting to pull some of these numbers together. We do not bookkeep this college as separate little pieces. This is a community college district for the county. It's difficult sometimes for us to come up with these numbers quickly because we've never looked at it that way. And we're perfectly willing to try to get our hands on some of those numbers, but they're difficult for us to get because our books are not set up that way. If you want to look at our books, you can look at our financials online anytime. They're posted every month. Our current budget is on there, and we certainly welcome your thoughts and comments about it. What we try to stay focused on, what is the appropriate facilities and programs for the communities that we're trying to serve, and how do we do a good job at that in an efficient, effective way. Efficiency isn't everything. We do this juggling act all the time. We have to balance efficiency to access. That's something the community college districts do all the time. The most efficient way to offer education to the highest number of people is to put it all in Prescott. That's the ultimate efficiency. I'll tell you that right now. That's not what we do. We balance that against access for people that are not in Prescott. But we're not perfect, so we are going to go around and we're going to shop this thing around, and we're going to go through the communities, and I'm sure we're going to get lots of feedback, and then we go forward with the plan, modifying the plan, figuring out what we're going to do. That's what you do with plans, you know.
Okay, I'd like to take an oral question. Janice, if you could, please.
My name is Janice Graham, and I am a resident of Cornville and have been for the past 10 years. And I would be interested in a comparison of population in the areas that the Yavapai College serves so that we know how many more are in the Prescott area than are in the Verde Valley and Sedona. And also, I would be interested in what sort of sustainability plan you have to go green with these buildings and with the college campus, and to offer courses in things like solar and sustainability, because this is an up-and-coming field that we should be offering to our students.
Okay, thank you. Sort of two questions there, but...
I'm glad you asked. A couple of things. Let's start with population. You know, we can look up population statistics. The numbers that we have are like student statistics. That's kind of what we do. Yeah. We, on the west side, the folks over there, we generate about 35,000 credit hours of educational activity, you know, in other words, classes. That's a number that we use, right? This is how many credits that we're teaching. Over on this side, it's about 7,000 on average. So that kind of tells you student population. People, the numbers I've heard are, it's about 60,000 over here, 60,000 in Prescott, and something like 60,000 everywhere else. You know, that's kind of the number I've heard. There are 5 districts, and they're all roughly about 30, aren't they? You know, 100. No, they're more than that. 42. So that's, you know. But we can certainly get the actual numbers. We can look those up on the county website. But just in general, the courses we teach, that's the classes that make, are in the 30s and around 7 over here.
Okay.
So the second was, what was the second question?
The second one
Had to do with the buildings that'll be built and
The
the
sustainability.
greening of the buildings.
One of the things that we really, one of the reasons that we took on the capital investment in the Verde Valley is we really needed to get on central plant over here. We had a very inefficient system of heating and cooling these buildings over here. If you remember, there were quite a few temporary structures on the Verde campus that were temporary since the campus was built. And they were really expensive to maintain, heat and cool. So we took them out and we replaced them with energy efficient buildings, and then we put in a central plant, which is a much more efficient way to heat and cool buildings. We'll save many, many thousands of dollars a year on that. So, and we're also doing reclaimed water for the grape farm. So we're trying to do that as much as we can. I grew up on a farm. I don't know what to call it. To me, it's a farm. The vineyard, that's it.
Okay, the grape farm, new term.
Right. So
That's okay.
So we do pay attention to that. I think that we're also talking about, or we're not talking about, we will be moving most of our, our agricultural and sustainability programs out of the Chino Valley area into the Prescott, or into the Verde Valley as this thing plays. That'll be a number of years, but because the agricultural business is changing very dramatically right now with all of the water issues and all the GMOs and all that stuff that's going on, people are demanding more and more locally grown food. So we feel that the Verde Valley is very favorably positioned to serve the needs of the agricultural industry in this state and elsewhere. in conjunction with land-grant college, U of A, they're very interested in partnering with us and bringing those educational opportunities up here into the Verde Valley. And I think it's going to be a really exciting program. I mean, ag's a $6.3 billion industry here in Arizona alone. So I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And we're definitely going to position ourselves to help educate people. That's the thing. Agricultural is a complex, expensive business, but they need educational opportunities to help understand how they're going to move forward in an environment of less water, less land, everything. So thank you for the question.
Clint, do you have any comments to that question?
I'll just quickly add that Yavapai was built one of the first LEED certified silver buildings in the county, and as a recovering numbers geek, I was really happy to hear your question. We do all kinds of crazy measures like BTUs per square foot per heating and cooling degree days, those kinds of things. And I can tell you the numbers are coming down dramatically, which is a good thing. Our energy consumption is down maybe 20% over the last 5 years. We are becoming more energy efficient, more green.
Okay. I have a question here that I'd like to ask both of you is, the Smith report had a number of alternatives presented, not just the one, the 10-year plan that has been talked about this evening and at other forums. Why did you select that alternative that spends the majority of the funds in the Prescott area?
You want me to? Correct me if I'm wrong. The three alternatives that the Smith Group developed were internal scenarios that they went out into the community and presented as possible options, and then they selected the pieces, the most widely accepted pieces of those three scenarios to create the final scenario they presented to us. So it wasn't like they created three different scenarios and presented them to the college. Those were working tools they used to get to the scenario they ultimately presented to us.
Okay.
I never saw the three. We saw the final product.
Okay. Okay. Questions from the audience? Any questions from the audience? Was there a hand in the back? I'm holding off Ellie not asking a question.
She's ignoring you, Ellie.
Barbara, only because she's, league president. I'll maybe save her for the last question.
I would defer to Ellie. Barbara Luttrell, Sedona. Thank you. I know you were at our council meeting this afternoon. Nice to see you. I'm sorry you haven't had dinner yet. But I have two questions. One is, when you were counting student enrollment in the Sedona area, did you count OLLI students for any of the student full-time equivalents?
Again, I'm not sure which numbers you're referring to. I gave some numbers to Mayor Adams earlier today, and there are about 407 different for-credit students and about 450 non-credit students, which would be the OLLI students.
And I was talking about credit hours, so.
Okay, but when you talk about how many full-time student equivalents there are on the campuses.
Thank you. So as far as how we measure that, the way that we report that to both the state and the feds is with for-credit students.
So OLLI was not counted in those?
OLLI was not counted in the FTSE numbers.
Right.
But as far as their we also have a software system where we monitor the usage of different classrooms, and so every time Community Ed or OLLI uses a classroom, we were able to take that into account.
Okay, and secondly, in terms of vocational education, because knowing the demographics on this side, there are a number of people, and they're not necessarily the high school students, but it might be, adults, single mothers, and so on, who would be looking for vocational courses. Are you still offering vocational courses on the Verde campus, or has all of that been moved to Prescott?
Right. So if we're talking about career and technical education type of courses, we had offered those in the Verde Valley campus probably till about 2004 or 5. And what we had found is that the enrollments, people just weren't signing up for the classes. So we stopped the on-campus teaching of that type of coursework. We currently provide a lot of that coursework through the high schools. And I know Dean Perry is actively working with VACD about the possibility of renting high school facilities after hours, evenings, weekends, to be able to offer some adult access to those types of programs.
Okay, thank you.
But we do teach courses for returning people trying to get back in the workforce, office skills. We do a lot of training for GED attainment. So those sort of, we tend to look at career and tech ed as welding and things like that. But we do a lot of what I consider to be career training, which is somebody trying to come back into the workforce, that their kids are now gone and they need to get back in the workforce. So we train those skills, and we do that here. We do them around the county. Those are pretty popular courses.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Sandy, I think you had a question.
Sandy Moriarty, I live in Sedona.
Thank you.
I'm kind of astounded at the statement you just made, Harold, that you never saw the three alternatives.
Well, we did not analyze the three alternatives. I've read through the whole study, which is this thick, but it isn't what it was. Those were working scenarios used to come to the conclusion of the single one. But yes, I've read the whole document, and part of what we're dealing with what people are seeing is you're seeing a summary sheet that we've selected the information to put on there. We can't put everything on there, so I would welcome anybody that really wants to look at this. We would certainly welcome you to come and look at the whole study, because it is fairly rigorous.
Okay, well, then that wasn't really a correct statement. You had seen the three alternatives.
I'd seen it, but it wasn't presented to the board as separate scenarios. It was presented as a document and a final scenario.
Okay, but it was presented, and it was never presented to the public either.
The entire document is available?
No, but the three alternatives, I saw it from a public presentation, so I just find that hard to believe.
I guess just to clarify, the three scenarios were developed by the Smith Group, again, with no intention that we would pick A, B, or C. It was to generate feedback from both on-campus and off-campus constituencies. And again, what they did is they took the parts that were receiving positive feedback and amalgamated them into the final campus master plan that's now on our website.
Okay. Another question. Why are you guys should be able to figure this out, is why the Sedona and the Chino facilities were underutilized? And do you know of any measurements or actions that were taken to try to remedy that situation of those facilities being underutilized?
So when the Smith Group said that those particular facilities were underutilized, some of the analyses they did is they looked at classroom utilization from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening, Monday through Friday. How many hours was that classroom in use? Then they also looked at if a classroom had 25 seats in it, how many of those seats were filled during each of those hours that the classroom was in use, and they kind of came up with an overall utilization rate. And what they found is that those two facilities had programming or utilization rates that were noticeably lower than the other sites.
Okay. Would you like to answer anything about that? Okay. Okay, thank you. Questions from the audience? Yes, Jan. I would think that up here, please. They're trying to tape us, so it's hard when you're.
I would think that utilization would be up if there were course offerings that attracted the people in those areas. So it would seem to me that if you want those campuses utilized, you need to be offering what the people around those campuses need or want.
Right. I think that was the second part of the question. What actions were taken to try to remedy the situation of underutilization?
Again, I know that the college has a variety of marketing that it does every semester to promote enrollment at all the different sites. In particular, I do think in the 2000 plan, the Chino Valley site was envisioned primarily as an agricultural learning center with some general education coursework. What we found when we kind of did a zip code analysis, what we found is that people who lived in Chino were driving right past their very own campus to go to the Prescott campus. And it's kind of a similar situation with the situation we had in Camp Verde when we were renting space at the high school. People want to be able to take all their courses conveniently, and if I can find the one I need at the campus that's nearby, but the other 2 or 3 I need are down at the bigger campus, what we found happening is that enrollments started to decline at the small centers and really migrate toward the campuses where there was more services available and more courses available.
But, another answer to your question is, we've got to figure out a better way to engage with the communities and figure out what are those things. A third of our business over the last very few years has gone online. So we're trying to figure out what do we do? We need community involvement to say, this is really what would work here for us as a community, and then we'll run those programs, and we'll try to make sure that we build the enrollment to where it's sustainable. But we do need community involvement and community advice of what works best for a specific community, because it's changing. It really is different every year, it seems like.
This is a sort of maybe a big picture look. This question is, instead of just, hearing about money or location-specific issues, looking at the whole picture, it is obvious that classes outside of Prescott Valley and Prescott are fading away. How do you expect the rest of Yavapai County to continue to support the college unless this discrepancy is addressed?
I don't find that to be an obvious conclusion to anything. I mean, it's not a valid conclusion.
It's not
Education outside of Prescott is not fading away. Okay. This campus is positioned for whatever kind of growth we can put into it. I mean, we haven't made big investments in that. We expect to build much higher enrollments over here. So the assumption that these campuses are being maliciously, squeezed and disposed of is a little bit hard for me to understand. But we intend to build enrollments where we have customers that want to take the classes. That's what our intention is. That's what we do. Right?
Clint, do you have anything to add?
I guess I would just echo that we are anxious to grow enrollments at all the different centers, and we are going through the beginning steps of reaching out to the community to follow up on what this woman has suggested, that we need to really start offering the right classes that people want to take. So that's part of what we need to do is hear it face-to-face, perhaps design some survey instruments, but we need to find out what kinds of classes people would like to take, because it's something where we'd really like to fill up those centers.
And the other thing, I'd like to throw a few numbers out. We're basically flat in enrollment, up 0.5% or something, which isn't real exciting right now, but compared to most folks, it's pretty good. Right now, nationwide, community colleges are down about 4%. The state's down 5.3%. There are some colleges that are in real trouble right now because of the lack of state funding. I really think we should, at some point, send a thought and a prayer to our colleagues up in the Coconino College District, because they're really struggling right now, and it's a very difficult time for those people. And I really, my heart goes out to them. It's tough business right now. We're not really sure why this is going on nationwide, to be honest with you. I don't know that anybody knows for sure, but we're holding our own. What? Yeah, There's a lot of studying going on, there's a lot of research going on, but you know, we're holding our own, trending up a little bit. We think that's pretty good in this environment. We're not going down the tubes. We are financially solvent. We've taken the changes that we needed to do to survive. We plan on being here for a very long time. We're going to have to make some changes. We're going to have to adapt. You know, I've been in business in this valley for 30 years, and I know that when things change, my plan's got to change, right? The world isn't going to change to fit my plan, and it's not going to change to fit ours either. So we have to adapt and change and make some tough decisions. Nobody sitting in this institution wants to close the facility. Last thing I ever want to do the rest of my life is look somebody in the eye and tell them they're going to have to go home because we don't have a job for them. We've had to do that at this college. So I hope never to have to do that again. But we'll just keep doing the best we can.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? I told Ellie you're going to be the last. If not, I've got some more I can give up here. Yes, Mary, come on up. You got it.
I'm Mary Chiquin. I'm chairman of the Verde Valley Regional Economic Organization, and I'd like to make a comment related to some of the questions and what you've been responding tonight on an example of how the college has really responded to the economic development and business needs of the Verde Valley in all of the resources that have been committed to the Wine Center. I mean, I really believe that that Wine Center and all those programs have emerged out of what has happened within the Verde Valley and the college responding to and recognizing that need and helping that whole program to grow as it relates to economic development and jobs and money within the Verde Valley. So I just want to point that out because that's experience I have had and seen the growth of economic development as it relates to that.
And maybe follow up to that, there was a question that was submitted about the $3.4 million that was spent for the viticulture program. Was that in capital expenses, operating expenses, both? Can you give a little bit of detail on that?
Sure. The $3.4 million is actually all in capital. So in addition to that, there are operating expenses to hire faculty and to actually run the vineyard and run the winery that we plan to open this summer. The other thing I wanted to follow up on, I know I attended another public session a few weeks ago, and the comment was made that no county tax dollars, no college money was used to fund the winery or the vineyard, and really that's just not accurate. It's a 50-50 split. The college is using $1.7 million of your money to invest in this facility to help stimulate economic development. And then we are reaching out for grants and for donations from a variety of sources to try to develop the other half. And our Yavapai College Foundation, my hat's off to them. They stepped up and made the financial commitment to do that over a period of 4 more years.
Okay. Harold, is there anything you can add to this one?
I like other people's money.
Okay.
I like that other half coming. Other people's money's good. You know, as much of that as we can get.
There are amenities, you know, on the press campus, such as tennis courts and pools, soccer, baseball fields, and the such. Are there any thoughts or plans for that on the Verde campus over the next 10 years? Or if not, how can those things maybe happen?
Well, I'm just so glad that question came tonight at this facility. You know, we are very open to doing what the community wants. I can tell you we have a PE program at the Verde Valley campus. We have a full-time PE instructor. Our enrollments tanked when this facility opened. But
we'll blame it on Cottonwood Rec
Well,
Center.
no.
Casey,
I
take
think
that
it's a
back
great,
to your boss.
I think it's a great thing. This is such a gem for your communities. This is just a gorgeous state-of-the-art facility. I'm glad it's here. We want to reach out to this facility and make sure that we're offering programming that complements each other and doesn't compete with each other. But really, you know, I think what we should try to maybe focus on is what does the community need and maybe what's equitable, not what's equal. I mean, just because a certain campus has a pool doesn't mean every site needs to have a pool. There's a beautiful pool right outside of these doors, and we'd like to tie into that and offer some of our coursework right here in this building.
I'm going to let Casey defend any statement here. Since he did raise his hand.
This is a beautiful facility,
It
isn't
is a beautiful
I mean, just walk out there and see
facility.
all the people using it.
It is,
So we don't need to duplicate that.
right.
But the city of Cottonwood is rebranding itself, and we've determined that what our secret to success is food, wine, arts, and culture. And I would like to see on this side of the mountain more arts and culture. And I mean, I can go to the Performing Arts Center in Prescott and see world-class, you know, entertainment that we don't have here. And the people here don't even know that we can go across the mountain and see it. But it's the same issue where it's just one of those things where you got to drive forever to get there. So I think we need more arts and culture in this community. I think the education side of it, math, STEM, math, science, all that stuff is great, but I would like, personally, I'd like to see more arts and culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
You and me
Okay.
both.
Yeah, I will. Okay. Ellie?
Scary thought. My name is Ellie Bauer. I'm president of the Verde Valley League of Women Voters, Greater Verde Valley. I'm an artist, and I want to talk to you about the art program, which has all the makings of being great and wonderful over here. And out of one particular part of that program, you summarily lifted a key course and moved it to Prescott. So all the students that want to take that, and granted it isn't 5 million or half of the enrollment, but all the students that want to take it have to go over to the Prescott side. That's a heck of a drive for one course that is critical to what they're going to be doing in their future. And I would support the person that told me, since this is the person who is teaching it and pulling hair, because how am I going to fix this now that it's been lifted out of my bailiwick? So I'm going to throw the problem into your guys' hand. I would make a recommendation that you restate the course here, even if only 2 kids sign up for it, because that completes a program for them.
Can you tell us, or can you tell us what the course is? Yeah, we need to know what it is. I really.
Ellie Bright,
Can you get with us after
Make
the
sure you
meeting?
give them the course name.
Yeah. Want to make sure we get it right.
There was a question about a recent article, guest editorial, that Dr. Wills did in the Cottonwood Journal Extra. And it listed a number of benefits Verde Valley residents are receiving. Practically every one of them can be obtained on this person's home computer, or they are funded by others. So what really is the advantage of the benefits of the Verde Valley campus if most of them are can be obtained on their home computer? It's a funny question.
So this is, how do, I think maybe the the question that we're asking is how do colleges like us that have presence in local communities remain relevant in the online age?
Yeah,
It's kind
that's
of the question
probably a
we're
better
asking,
way to
you know.
say it, yes.
And what we believe the answer to that question is that there are things that we can do that require a presence, and there are things that we're going to let go of that don't. And I can't compete with the reputation of like Stanford for an online course in Yavapai College. We believe we can, but most people would rather have Stanford on their transcript. So there are going to be, as this business changes, and I'm not sure 10 years from now what online education is even going to be, you know. So as we move forward, we are going to really work hard at doing the things that we are relevant and the things we can do and the things that require a local presence. And those things that you're better off doing online, taken from Stanford or Harvard, we're going to help you do it. You know, that maybe there are those people that really don't have the infrastructure or the technology to take those online courses from a Harvard or Stanford. We'll help them do that with our technology. You know, our job is to help people in this county get educated in the most effective way we can. And if that education comes from Stanford through the pipe, then we're going to help them do that. That's what we have to do. The outcome is the people have a better life than they would without the education. So that's what we're going to do. And what exactly we'll be doing 10, 15 years from now, not sure. You know, but we'll be here doing the best we can.
Okay. This has to do with land that you might be potentially buying in land that you already own. So it's the question is: are you planning to buy land in the Prescott area you are planning to buy land in the Prescott area to build a new campus? What are your plans for the 80 vacant acres in the Verde Valley on this campus, and the plans for the 5 acres of vacant land you own in Sedona over the next 10 years?
Well, let's see. Let's start with Sedona. We really we're kind of in a bind with the facility over there, and I don't know. Most people don't know or probably don't care about the details of what's happening or what has happened at the Sedona Cultural Park. But when it collapsed and went through bankruptcy, we lost access to the shared resources over there, parking, roads, and that sort of thing. So we have this 5 acres. We have 3 requirements, and you'll see in the master plan that about 5, 6 years out, we said we may have to sell the Sedona Center, and that's based on, we've spent 11 years now trying to resolve these issues. We have to have 3 things. We have to have parking, we have to put our acreages together, and we have to have access to the public to 89A, legal access. If we don't have those things 5 or 6 years from now, we're probably never going to get them. That would mean that we've been at it for 15, 16 years, and enough is enough. So we will shut it down and buy something else and move out of that cultural park. We're not going to move out of Sedona, but you know, enough's enough. We got to move on. We cannot continue to deal with basically being illegally parked outside the door of our facility. The only reason that we have any programs in that facility right now at all is because Mike Tennyson, the guy that bought it, is a nice guy. Mike Tennyson may sell it to somebody tomorrow that isn't a nice guy. Our responsibility is to make sure that we can use that facility, and if 5 or 6 years from now we have not got these 3 issues covered, we'll sell it. Or if I will, well, I won't be on this board 5 or 6 years from now, but I would highly recommend the board has to get out of there and buy another facility in Sedona that we do have legal access to. We've just got to do that. So that takes care of Sedona. The 80 acres on the Verde, we have lots of plans for that. You know, going forward, we would like to continue to grow our agricultural education. There are, we have had some other community input on ideas of what to do out there. We're going to be looking at that in great detail. It is a really precious resource that we have, and we have to invest it carefully. You know, we don't want to do things that aren't that don't make sense for the community. So we're looking to you to help us decide what do we do with that property. It's a very precious resource that those that have come before us have passed down to us, and we have to respect that and do a good job with it. As far as Prescott Valley is concerned, if we consolidate those programs and sell the facilities that are over there, we will have to purchase some land to do that on. And the town of Prescott Valley is very willing to work with us to buy stuff that we need to get rid of and sell us stuff that we need. But yes, we do not have enough property over there to consolidate those facilities. We'll have to sell some things and buy some other property. Was that it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Think so.
Do you have anything to add to that, Clint?
Oh, it's okay.
You can tell me to shut up and
I think one of the things I'd like to hear from this group to talk to our speakers about, give ideas to our speakers, how best they can communicate to all of us, and how we can best communicate to them from your perspective. So if any of you have thoughts about that, because we talk about that a lot as input, community outreach, how we share information, whether it's neighbors just saying we want to see this kind of course on campus, or a town saying this is the kind of services we'd like to be in partnership with the college. So how do you think that best you can communicate to the college, and the college, how would you like to hear from us?
It would be really helpful for us to know that, because quite often what we do is we go on the circuit, and it's valuable, don't get me wrong, to go out and do the Rotary Club and go out and talk to community services organizations. But typically when you do that, the expectations of the group is Yavapai College is coming to tell you stuff, right? That's not as valuable to us as we want to come out and have a two-way dialogue like we're doing tonight and have information going both ways. So we have a 15-minute slot on the Rotary Club agenda to do a presentation, and that's worth doing, but it doesn't get much coming back this way. So we really want to work on how do we do that well, because we don't want to waste anybody's time. Everybody's busy, but we really do need more coming back this way, and not just us coming out and telling you stuff.
If a small group comes up with a great idea, who should they communicate with?
Any of us.
Anybody.
You can call me, you know.
Would you take a great idea now?
Sure.
Sure.
You have them every day, right?
Build dormitories.
Build dormitories. You know, that was it. Somebody asked a question a little while ago and we didn't answer didn't address it, and I apologize for that. It was about the things that are on the Prescott campus that are not over here. And, you know, I would really like to be able to build the capacity and the enrollment over here to where we can have a lot of those sort of things. I mean, I live over here. I'd really like, you know, to have those amenities over here. We've got to build the enrollments to support them. I think we can do that. Most of those amenities that are in the Prescott area have been there for a long time, and basically our role at this point is maintaining them. You know, we have to keep up these, you know, the performance hall was built long before I was on the board, and the pool, well, I'll never oppose another pool in Yavapai County, guys. You know, I think pools are great. But pool, the tennis courts, all these things, and we have to spend money on them to keep them, or we have to spend money on them to tear them down and haul them off. So we have a responsibility to maintain the infrastructure that have been passed down to us. So some of those facilities, you know, are high use, and it takes a good bit to keep them going. So, but it's our responsibility to maintain them. The good news is we have been doing a pretty good job at that. We've had a study done where we're basically within, what, 0.6 of a percentage point of
6%.
6%, that's it, yeah. 94%. The condition of our facilities, county, district-wide, are basically 94% of new, which is pretty good. It's pretty good. But, you know, I would like to, you know, I'd really, Aubrey's going to be going over to Prescott to the dormitory, and I really would rather she was over here, you know.
Okay.
Let me give you my
Ellie, if you're going to speak, I need you up at the microphone, and then Barbara Luttrell has a question.
My reasoning on the dormitories is the wine program is going to need it desperately, not only for students, but for staffing and faculty and research. If those people don't have a place to stay here, and my house isn't big enough to take care of
Got a
them,
big house, Ellie.
it's not big enough what you need.
Move Earl out.
You know, and the arts program too. If you want these programs, which are great over here, to continue to grow, you've got to provide that kind of space. And for me, at least in my view, it makes better sense to spend that money that you're thinking of spending on roads throughout the place on that kind of facility. People can walk around that campus, or they can drive really slowly. It's okay, it's not going to hurt anybody. But the other brings people together and brings them here and grows programs, and that's...
Yeah.
Barbara.
I think we definitely need to look at those things. I have to apologize to the community. Somebody asked me about that a few weeks ago, and I kind of ground through some numbers in my head that pretty expensive, and about a third, I threw out a number somewhere $20–30 million. And the thought, and I did that with lots of calculus. I'm great at ciphering in my head, right? So, but the biggest chunk of that, you can build a dormitory for probably $8–10 million, but we don't have a campus that is a full-time occupancy campus. So there's a lot that comes with that. You have to have a 24-hour occupied campus is a different kind of cat than the Black Hills campus is now. You've got to have 24-hour security, you've got to have food service, you've got to have a whole different kind of amenities for people that live there. So it would be expensive. I'm not sure that it would be 20 or 30, but it's going to be quite a bit because it's a different kind of campus. But I am certainly on board with looking at it and saying, can we put together with the community a way to do that? Because it's something I'd like, I think and if there's a way to do it, then I think we'd ought to make a run at it, because I certainly hear what you're saying. We're putting programs in that would really benefit from that. We just need to figure out, can we afford to do it?
Right. And with that, I'm going to let Barbara Luttrell be the last comment, and then I'm going to close this up because it is right at 8:30.
Okay, thank you. At the Sedona Council meeting, as well as this evening, I heard you both and all of you commenting about wishing you'd had perhaps more input from the community before the plan was even done. And now that the plan is done, you're reaching out to the community, and you're seeing that the community has a lot of ideas, and certainly for the uses of the campuses as well. Wishfully, all of this could have happened during your planning process or before your planning process. But I've heard a lot of people saying, well, we need to talk to the community. We need to get the community involved. I think what we, the community, now need is a plan from you of how you want to do that. I mean, are you going to develop task forces in each one of our communities that represents the campus in order to say what courses do you want? What are the kinds of programs? What are the needs that you have? All of these things probably should have taken place before, but it's not too late. It's a long plan. But are you going to do task forces? I'd like to know, and I'm sure everybody would like to know, what's the to-do list as a result of your meetings today? Are you going to be having listening sessions with the community so we can make sure we get people out? I wish this room had 100 more people here tonight. But it's that kind of thing. We have to have, what's your plan? And your plan will be our plan in terms of outreach and response from the community. What do you want to know? What can we tell you? Don't wait for us to send you an email, because Ellie will follow up and send you an email. But what we really need is an organized conversation about the needs of the community and the ideas. I mean, the ideas and the marketing that really need to come from the community to you, and, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
So I think we've talked a lot about it today, but I'm hoping that someone will send us a plan for what's the action list.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
So we've scheduled about 20 right now meetings with various community organizations and groups, and we've asked, and we'd like to have. We will be scheduling more as going forward. I think it's a good idea to put together some shot at a format that we can say, really address the thing that we really need it to be a two-way dialogue and not a presentation. I think, we have a lot of expectations where we're going to come out and tell stuff, and we really need to spin it a little bit differently. So we'll continue to schedule them. Those of you that have organizations that you'd like us to engage with or community groups you'd like to pull together and meet with us, let us know. You can contact any of us, and we'll put that on the schedule. We figure that the next several months will be fairly intense. This may have to go on for a year or two. I really don't know how long it's going to take, but we have time to do this. There isn't anything on this master plan that we can't take the time to do correctly. That's why it's a 10-year plan. So I would encourage you to contact us with suggestions for groups and formats. If you have good ideas on how to do that, because I don't really know how to do it that well, and I'd like some input from you guys on how do you engage with a group of people. This works fairly well, but not everybody's the League of Women Voters. How do we engage and get a dialogue going? And then how do we record the information? How do we feed the information back out to the community? All those things we really need to take on and make sure we do this well.
Right. With that, it's 8:30, and it's after 8:30. Yeah, I don't wear a watch, so I have to look at these clocks around here. And I really want to thank both Clint Ewell and Harold Harrington for coming in and speaking tonight and having some conversation back and forth. Yes, this is just one way to have conversation, and as you said, it is a plan that's a work in progress. And I think a variety of ways of conversation are always important, whether it's face-to-face or a way of somebody just jotting down an idea, and if they knew where to email it to, maybe a regular column in the online or in the newspaper that says, yeah, I've got this great idea, here it is, and take it and run with it, and I'd be happy to be involved with it, because once you give an idea out, you better stay with it for a while. So that's how communities get engaged, is once you give an idea, you're involved in it. So I would say that to everybody in the room, and spread the word that if you do have ideas and thoughts about the college and its future, it's our college, all of our colleges here. On both sides of the hill. I don't look at necessarily that being separate from us. We're all in it together. With that, I want to again thank you guys, and thank you all for coming tonight. It will be on Verde Valley TV, which is on YouTube. Just go YouTube Verde Valley TV. Is that correct, Ryan? And you'll find it. It'll be right there. And 2 weeks from tonight, we will be in Sedona, hopefully having a similar conversation. I know Miss Luttrell is from Sedona, so get out all your friends, neighbors, and partners, and Sandy also, and Jessica, I see you here too. And just want to say that, again, the League is happy to provide these opportunities when we can, and we don't always have to do it this way. We can also facilitate small group discussions, sitting in a room around a table. We like to be a part of those also. So I'm with sort of putting us out there. I have a few board members in the room who are kind of going, oh no, there she goes again. If you didn't get a question answered, give it to me. I've got a couple I know we have to get answers to. We'll get the answers, and on the mailing list, we'll email those answers back out to you. That's my promise to all of you. So if there's any other questions you want answered, just give them to me or any league member tonight before you leave. And if you've enjoyed this forum, and I hope you have, we invite you to think about giving the League of Women Voters a try. We are a really fun organization, and just because we have the name woman in there doesn't mean men cannot be involved. We have many men involved in our organization. Yes, Richard is a league member sitting. Yeah, thank you, Richard. Okay. With that, thank you very much all for coming tonight, and have a good evening.